Okay, sir, what's your name?
Wellington Dickens.
Okay, sir, what's going on?
I killed my children.
On October 27, 2025, a phone call changed everything. A father in Zebulon, North Carolina, picked up his phone and dialed 911. What he said next would shock investigators and break the hearts of an entire community. Wellington Dickens III, a 38-year-old father, confessed to murder. Not just one murder, 4 murders, his own children. 6-year-old Leah, 9-year-old Zoe, 10-year-old Wellington IV, and 18-year-old Sha Breastfield. All 4 children were dead. Their bodies had been hidden in the trunk of a car since May. 5 months. 5 months of silence while a community wondered where these children had gone. But there was one miracle in this nightmare. One 3-year-old child survived, found alive in the home when police arrived. This is the full investigation into the Wellington Dickens case. How did 4 children die while no one noticed? Why did their father wait 5 months to confess? And how did one child survive? I'm True Crime Buff HQ, and today we're seeking justice for Leah, Zoe, Wellington, and Sha. 4 innocent lives stolen too soon. This is their story. October 27, 2025. A Sunday evening in Zebulon, North Carolina. Wellington Dickens III picked up his phone and called 911. The call lasted nearly 7 minutes. What he said in those 7 minutes would expose a horror that had been hidden for 5 months. The operator answered, and Dickens immediately confessed. I killed my children. 4 words that changed everything. He continued, it's all my fault. I didn't use knives or nothing to cut nobody or shoot nobody or nothing. It started out as me over-disciplining. That's how he described murdering 4 of his own children. Dickens was calling from his home on Springtooth Drive in Zebulon, a quiet residential street in Johnston County. The kind of neighborhood where families live, where children play outside, where no one expects this kind of evil. But inside that home, a nightmare had been unfolding since May. During the call, Dickens told the operator his name. He told them where he was. And then he said something that made investigators' blood run cold. The bodies are in my trunk. 4 children, hidden in the trunk of a car, for 5 months. But there was one piece of hope in this confession. Dickens told the operator, my 3-year-old son is alive. He's inside the house. One child had survived. Johnston County authorities immediately dispatched officers to Springtooth Drive. Sheriff's deputies, detectives, emergency medical personnel. They arrived within minutes, not knowing exactly what they would find. When they entered the home, they found the 3-year-old boy alive. Scared, but alive. And outside, in the trunk of a vehicle parked at the property, they found exactly what Dickens had confessed to. 4 bodies. 4 children who had been dead for months. 6-year-old Leah, 9-year-old Zoe, 10-year-old Wellington IV, 18-year-old Sha Breastfield. All gone. The scene was immediately secured. Crime scene investigators worked through the night. The North Carolina State Medical Examiner's Office was called in. Evidence was collected, photographs were taken, and Wellington Dickens was taken into custody without incident. But here's the question that haunts this case. Why did he wait 5 months to confess? From May to October, 5 months of living with 4 dead children hidden in a car trunk. 5 months of caring for 1 surviving child while keeping this secret. 5 months of no one asking questions. No welfare checks. No concerned neighbors. No school officials wondering where these children had gone. What finally made him pick up that phone on October 27th? During the 911 call, Dickens made one more chilling statement. He told the operator that God influenced him to do it, that this was somehow part of a divine plan. But there is nothing divine about murdering children. Nothing spiritual about hiding their bodies for months. Nothing holy about what happened in that house on Springtooth Drive. The next day, October 28th, Wellington Delano Dickens III was formally charged with 4 counts of murder. He was held without bond. A public defender was appointed to represent him. And the investigation into how 4 children died began in earnest. But to understand this case, we need to go back. Back to May 2025, when the first child died. It started in May 2025. The first child to die was 6-year-old Leah Dickens, the youngest daughter, a little girl who should have been finishing kindergarten, playing with toys, learning to read. Instead, she became the first victim of her father's violence. We don't know the exact date in May when Leah died. Investigators have not released those details. What we do know is that after Leah's death, her father made a choice. He didn't call for help. He didn't call 911. He didn't take her to a hospital. Instead, Wellington Dickens hid her body in the trunk of his car. And life in that house on Springtooth Drive continued. 1 child dead, 4 children still alive, and no one outside that home knew what had happened. 3 months passed. In August 2025, 9-year-old Zoe Dickens became the second victim. Zoe was in elementary school, old enough to have friends, old enough to have dreams about her future, old enough to know something terrible was happening in her home. During his 911 confession, Dickens said the deaths started with over-disciplining. But investigators have been clear. There is no discipline that results in death. This was not discipline. This was murder. The North Carolina State Medical Examiner's Office has not released the cause of death for any of the children. Autopsy results remain sealed as part of the ongoing investigation. We don't know if the children died from physical trauma, suffocation, starvation, or other causes. What we do know is that after Zoe died in August, her body joined her sister Leah's in the trunk of that car. 2 children dead, 3 children still alive in that house. And still, no one knew. Weeks later, in late August or early September, 10-year-old Wellington Dickens IV died. Wellington IV was named after his father. He was the oldest son, a boy who should have been starting 5th grade, playing sports, growing up. Imagine being a child in that home, watching your siblings disappear one by one, knowing your father is responsible, living in constant fear that you might be next. This is the reality that the surviving children faced every single day. After Wellington IV died, his body was placed in the trunk with his 2 sisters. 3 children now hidden in a car parked in the garage or driveway of a suburban home. And still the killing wasn't over. In September 2025, 18-year-old Sean Brassfield died. Sean was sometimes called Sha. He was Wellington Dickens' stepchild. Legally an adult, but still living at home. Still part of this family. Sean was the oldest, the one who might have been able to protect the younger children, the one who might have been able to call for help. But Sean became the fourth and final victim. 4 children, dead over a span of 5 months, May through September, and their bodies were stored in a car trunk the entire time.
When police arrived on October 27th, after Dickens' confession, they found all 4 bodies in the trunk. The North Carolina State Medical Examiner's Office was immediately called to the scene. Medical examiners carefully removed each body. They documented everything. They performed autopsies. They collected evidence. But as of today, the medical examiner has not publicly released the cause of death for any of the 4 children. The manner of death has not been officially determined. The autopsy reports remain sealed. This is normal in an active murder investigation. Prosecutors need to protect evidence that will be used in court. Defense attorneys haven't had access to discovery yet. The case is still being built. What investigators have said is this: there is no clear motive. Johnston County Sheriff's Office emphasized that nothing justifies what happened. No reason, no excuse, no explanation makes sense. 4 children are dead because their father killed them. Leah Dickens, 6 years old, died in May. Zoe Dickens, 9 years old, died in August. Wellington Dickens IV, 10 years old, died in late August or early September. Sean Brassfield, 18 years old, died in September. 4 lives stolen, 4 futures erased. 4 children who deserved to grow up, to laugh, to live. And one question that haunts this entire timeline: how did this happen for 5 months without anyone noticing? But there was one child who survived. One 3-year-old boy who made it out alive. And his survival is the only light in this incredibly dark story. 4 children dead over 5 months. One child who survived. And a community asking, how did no one see this coming? Before we continue with how this 3-year-old survived, I need your help spreading awareness about cases like this. If this story matters to you, please hit the like button right now. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss an investigation, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. Every single share reaches more people who might recognize warning signs like these and save a child's life. In the comments below, write your city and what time you're watching this. That information helps me publish investigations when they'll reach the maximum number of people. The more people who see these stories, the more children we can protect together. This channel exists to bring you stories about children who needed protection but didn't get it. Every investigation is not just about tragedy. It's a lesson in recognizing dangerous situations before it's too late. If you want to support this mission, click the Join button below to become a channel member. You'll get early access to investigations and exclusive content. You can also leave a super thanks to help fund deeper research into cases like Wellington Dickens. And speaking of deeper research, everyone asks, what made Ed Gein this way? My new book, The God That Made a Monster, answers that question by examining the religious trauma that created a killer.
It's part of my new series about what Netflix didn't show you. Grab it using the link below. Be sure to watch other videos on this channel. Knowing about cases like these could one day help you notice warning signs and protect a child who's in danger. Thank you for your support. Now let's talk about the child who survived.
Serious. When Johnston County Sheriff's deputies arrived at the Springtooth Drive home on October 27th, they found something they weren't sure they would find. A survivor. A 3-year-old boy. Alive. Scared, but alive. While 4 of his siblings lay dead in a car trunk just outside the house, this little boy had somehow made it through 5 months of horror. The question everyone is asking is, why did this child survive when 4 others didn't? We don't have a complete answer. Wellington Dickens has not explained why he killed 4 children but spared 1. Investigators have not released details about what the 3-year-old witnessed or experienced during those 5 months. But we can look at what we know. The child who survived was the youngest, only 3 years old. The 4 children who died ranged from 6 to 18 years old. They were older, more aware, more able to resist or question what was happening. Sometimes in cases of family violence, the youngest children are spared because they're seen as less threatening. They can't report what they see. They can't fight back. They're completely dependent on the abuser. When the police entered the house on Springtooth Drive, they found something no one expected. A little boy, just 3 years old, alive in the middle of so much tragedy. He was the only one left. He had survived, while his 4 siblings did not. This child's survival is both a miracle and a mystery. After months of horror in that house, he was still breathing, still there when authorities arrived. But how did he survive when the others did not? What protected him? What protected this child? Investigators have asked this question over and over. Some say it was luck. Others think his father, Wellington Dickens, may have treated him differently because he was so young. Maybe Dickens felt sorry for him, or maybe he saw him as too small to be a threat. Sometimes, in cases like this, the youngest child is spared because the parent sees them as helpless or innocent. But there's another truth here. Even though he survived, this little boy will carry the trauma of what happened for the rest of his life. The moment he was found. When deputies entered the home, they found the 3-year-old alone. He was scared, hungry, and confused. He did not understand where his siblings were, or why his world had suddenly changed. But he was alive. Emergency medical teams quickly checked him for injuries. He was taken to the hospital for a full medical exam. Doctors found that physically he was okay. He had no serious injuries. He was underweight and a little dehydrated, but he was alive. Sheriff's deputies stayed with him at the hospital. Child Protective Services arrived soon after to make sure he would be safe, both now and in the future. In many ways, the hardest part of his journey was just beginning. The sheriff's office and Child Protective Response. After the discovery, the Johnston County Sheriff's Office made it clear that protecting the surviving child was their top priority. They worked closely with social workers and Child Protective Services to make sure he was not returned to any unsafe situation. Investigators began searching for any other family members who could care for him. They wanted to find someone who could offer love, stability, and a safe home. In situations like this, the law says that Child Protective Services must first look for relatives, an aunt, a grandparent, or even a close family friend. If no safe relatives are found, the child is placed in foster care with a family trained to help children who have suffered trauma.
The sheriff's office also started a detailed investigation to find out how this tragedy went unnoticed for so long. Were there missed warning signs? Did anyone know the children were in danger? Did schools or neighbors try to check on the family? These are the questions investigators are still working to answer. The survivor's current status. As of now, the 3-year-old boy is in the custody of Child Protective Services. For his safety and privacy, authorities have not released his name or any details about where he is living. What we do know is that he is being cared for by adults who understand trauma and know how to help children heal. He is receiving counseling and therapy to help him process what happened. Child psychologists are working with him to help him understand his feelings and start to rebuild trust in adults. He is also being closely monitored for any signs of emotional or physical distress. The community has come together to support him. Local charities, churches, and volunteers have offered help. Some have donated toys, clothes, and books. Others have raised money for his future needs. People want to make sure that, even after all he has lost, this little boy will have a chance at a better life. Surviving such a tragedy is just the first step. This child will need years of support and care. He will have questions as he grows older. He will need love, patience, and understanding from everyone around him. But he is not alone. There are people fighting for him. Social workers, doctors, therapists, and a whole community that wants to see him heal. In the end, the survivor's story is a reminder. Even in the darkest situations, there can be hope. Even after the worst tragedies, a child can survive. And maybe, with enough support, find a way to thrive. After Wellington Dickens confessed on that 911 call, the real work began. Investigators had to turn his words into evidence. They had to build a case strong enough to hold up in court. On October 27, 2024, crime scene investigators arrived at the home on Springtooth Drive. They spent hours documenting everything. They took photographs of every room. They collected physical evidence. They searched for anything that could explain what happened. The most difficult part was recovering the bodies of the 4 children from the car trunk. The North Carolina State Medical Examiner's Office carefully removed each body and transported them for autopsy. Forensic experts worked to determine the cause of death for each child. Inside the house, investigators looked for signs of violence. They checked for bloodstains, weapons, or anything that showed how the children died. They also looked for evidence of neglect, empty refrigerators, dirty conditions, or signs that the children were not being cared for. Neighbors were interviewed. Teachers and school officials were contacted. Investigators wanted to know if anyone had seen warning signs. Did the children miss school? Did they seem scared or hurt? Did anyone report concerns to authorities? Every piece of information mattered. Every detail could help prosecutors understand what happened and prove it in court. Just one day after his confession, on October 28, 2024, Wellington Dickens was formally charged with 4 counts of murder, 1 count for each child: Leah, Zoe, Wellington IV, and Sean Brassfield. Murder charges are the most serious charges in North Carolina law. They carry the possibility of life in prison or even the death penalty, depending on the circumstances. Dickens was arrested and taken to the Johnston County Detention Center. He was booked, fingerprinted, and photographed. His mugshot was released to the public, and his face became known across the country. At his first court appearance, a judge ruled that Wellington Dickens would be held without bond. This means he cannot pay money to get out of jail while he waits for trial. He will remain locked up until his case is resolved. Judges deny bond in cases like this for two reasons. First, the crime is so serious that the person is considered a danger to the community. Second, there is a risk the person might try to run away to avoid trial. In this case, both reasons applied. 4 children were dead, and Dickens had already confessed. There was no question he would stay in jail. Attorney appointed and court appearances. Because Dickens could not afford a private lawyer, the court appointed a public defender to represent him. Public defenders are experienced lawyers who work for people who cannot pay for legal help. His attorney's job is to make sure Dickens gets a fair trial. Even in cases where guilt seems obvious, everyone has the right to legal representation under the law. Dickens has appeared in court several times since his arrest. Each time, he has been escorted in handcuffs and wearing a jail uniform. He has not spoken publicly about the case. His lawyer has not made any statements to the media. One of the most frustrating parts of this case is that investigators still do not know why this happened. There is no clear motive. Dickens told the 911 operator that the death started with over-disciplining. But that does not explain why he killed 4 children over 5 months. It does not explain why he hid their bodies. It does not explain why he waited so long to confess. Sheriff's officials have said there is no reason that makes sense. No explanation that justifies what happened. The investigation is still active. Detectives are still gathering evidence. The medical examiner is still working on final reports. Prosecutors are still building their case. This story is not over. The legal process will take months, maybe years. But one thing is certain. Justice will be pursued for Leah, Zoe, Wellington IV, and Sean. Before we go any further, we need to stop and remember who this story is really about. Not the man who took their lives, but the 4 children who lost theirs. Leah Dickens. Leah was the oldest. She was just a child herself, but in many ways she may have tried to protect her younger siblings. Older children in troubled homes often become little parents. They try to keep everyone safe. They try to keep the peace. Leah deserved to grow up, to go to school, to have friends, to dream about her future. She never got that chance. Zoe Dickens. Zoe was younger than Leah. She was at an age where children are full of energy and curiosity. They ask a million questions. They want to learn everything. Zoe should have been playing outside, laughing with her siblings, discovering the world. Instead, her life was cut short in the worst possible way. Wellington Dickens, the 4th. Wellington IV carried his father's name. In many families, that is an honor. It means you are expected to carry on a legacy. But Wellington IV never got the chance to create his own story. He was just a little boy who needed love and protection. He deserved better than what he got. Sean Brassfield, Sha. Sean, also called Sha, was the youngest of the 4 who died. He was still so small, so innocent. At his age, children depend completely on adults for everything: food, safety, love. Sean trusted the adults in his life to keep him safe. That trust was broken. The family structure. These 4 children were siblings. They shared a home,
a father, and a life together. They should have been each other's protectors and best friends. They should have grown up together, celebrated birthdays together, and made memories together. Their father, Wellington Dickens, was supposed to be their protector. Instead, he became the person they needed protection from. The 3-year-old who survived is their brother. He will grow up knowing he had siblings he will never meet. He will carry their memory with him forever. Why we remember them? We say their names because they mattered. Leah, Zoe, Wellington IV, and Sean were not just victims. They were children with personalities, with potential, with lives that should have been lived. They deserved love. They deserved safety. They deserved a future. We remember them so their lives are not forgotten. We remember them so their story can help protect other children. Between May and October 2024, 4 children died in a home in Johnston County, North Carolina. 5 months passed, and somehow no one knew. This raises the most painful question of all. How did this happen? Where were the systems that are supposed to protect children? Red flags missed from May to October. During those 5 months, there should have been signs. Children who are being abused often show warning signals. They miss school. They have unexplained injuries. They seem scared or withdrawn. Neighbors might hear screaming or notice the children are never outside playing. But in this case, it appears no one reported anything. Or if they did, nothing was done about it. 4 children disappeared from their normal lives over 5 months, and the system did not catch it. No welfare checks? One of the biggest questions investigators are asking is this: did anyone ever come to check on these children? In North Carolina, teachers, doctors, neighbors, any adult is required by law to report suspected child abuse. If someone makes a report, Child Protective Services is supposed to investigate within 24 hours. But there is no evidence that anyone made a welfare check at the Dickens home during those 5 months. No social workers knocked on the door. No police officers stopped by. No one from the school system asked where the children were. North Carolina CPS gaps. North Carolina's child protection system has serious problems. The state does not have a centralized tracking system. Many counties still use paper files. This means if a family moves from one county to another, their history does not follow them. The system is also severely understaffed. Social workers are overwhelmed with too many cases. They cannot keep up. Important cases fall through the cracks. There have been documented cases where county offices failed to report abuse to law enforcement. Communication between agencies is poor. Warning signs are missed because no one is connecting the dots. How did this go undetected? The truth is, this case reveals a broken system. 4 children died, 1 at a time, over 5 months. Their father hid their bodies in a car trunk, and no one noticed. Were the children enrolled in school? If so, why did no one ask where they were when they stopped showing up? If they were homeschooled, who was checking to make sure they were safe? These are the questions that haunt this case. These are the failures that allowed 4 innocent lives to be lost. The system that was supposed to protect Leah, Zoe, Wellington IV, and Sean failed them completely. This case is not over. Wellington Dickens will face trial. Prosecutors will seek justice for what he did. But justice in a courtroom is not enough.
Justice for Leah, Zoe, Wellington IV, and Sha. Real justice means making sure this never happens again. It means fixing the broken systems that failed these children. It means speaking up when we see something wrong. These 4 children deserved better. They deserved protection. They deserved life. If you suspect child abuse, report it. You can save a life by making one phone call. If you see a child being hurt, neglected, or abused, call the National Child Abuse Hotline immediately. 1-800-422-4453. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can remain anonymous. Your call could be the difference between life and death for a child. Subscribe for daily child justice investigations. This channel is dedicated to seeking justice for the most vulnerable. Every day, we investigate cases where children were failed by the system. We shine a light on the truth. We demand accountability. If you believe children deserve justice, subscribe now. Turn on notifications so you never miss an investigation. Coming next. In the next video, we're investigating a Pennsylvania mother accused of one of the most disturbing cases of concealment you'll ever hear. 4 dead babies, hidden in plastic bags and totes throughout her home. Births kept secret. No medical help. No explanation. Jessica Mothy now faces homicide charges. Her defense? She claims she may have been delusional, that she might have dreamed her own confession. 4 innocent lives, years of secrets. The full investigation tomorrow. Don't miss it. Subscribe now. Justice for Leah, Zoe, Wellington IV, and Sha.